Hello, everybody. Looks like we've got quite a few participants on today, and I want to welcome you to our webinar. So I'm Jennifer Ayers with Northwest HPEC, and on the screen you can see all the great companies that are part of our community. 26 of you are participating in this webinar today, which is really exciting for our first webinar event. If this is the first time that you participated in a Northwest HPEC event, welcome. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. Northwest HPEC exists to help your companies create a culture of continuous improvement, and we accomplish this through connecting and collaborating so that we can learn and grow together. And I'm really excited to launch this new platform to do that. Before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. As a participant, you will be muted throughout the webinar. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you can see a Q&A button. Feel free to type in a question during the presentation, and we'll spend some time at the end of the webinar answering these. We will not be using the chat feature today. The presentation will be interactive, and you'll have an opportunity to answer some live poll questions during the session. The webinar link and the slides will be sent out within a few days to everyone who is registered. And a survey will pop up after the webinar, and I'd really love it if you could take a couple of minutes to provide some feedback. Next slide, Kush. So our topic today is leader-standard work, and I feel this is a cornerstone tool that leads to the behavior necessary to create lasting cultural change and creating a team of problem solvers. I'm grateful for today's speaker, Kush Pathak, for being willing to share his expertise and experience with the rest of us. Kush works at the Standard Insurance Company as the AVP of the Lean Center of Excellence. Over his career, he has led many operational and cultural transformations. What stands out for me is the way Kush walks the talk and sets the example from the top. He doesn't just talk about what good lean leadership practices look like, he demonstrates them. Kush is frequently invited to speak at national operational excellence conferences to share his experience, and I hope that you will enjoy his message today. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, Kush.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it. I'm excited to talk about this topic today. Before I dive into the topic, I want to say thank you to everyone who's joined the webinar. I see 56 participants right now, so I appreciate you taking time out to join this. I also want to say thank you to my team at the Standard. Even though I'm the one, standing here and presenting this topic, their contributions are definitely all over this presentation. So really thankful for the team that I have here. So just to give everyone some context, at the Standard, we are an insurance company based out of Portland, Oregon. We started our lean journey about 3.5 years ago, and we've had some amazing results, both in terms of improving customer value and also engaging our employees by using a lean management system. So, people often ask me, how have we made this much progress in such a short amount of time? And I like to tell them a story. When I first joined the Standard, I think, the first few months of me being here, I was in a meeting with our CEO and all the leaders in the company. And our CEO stood up and he said, if lean fails at the Standard, it will not be because of the lean COE, it will be because of all the people in this room, meaning all the leadership at the company. So I tell that story to illustrate that, whether lean succeeds or fails has a lot to do with the mindsets and the leadership that is in place. So whatever success we've achieved here at the Standard so far with our lean journey, I give most of that credit to the leadership that we have in place and, the change in mindset that leadership has gone through as we've gone through our journey. And mindsets don't change unless we change routines and behaviors. So that's why this topic is near and dear to my heart, because in my opinion, leader-standard work is the way that we change the routines and practices for our leadership. And that's what drives a change in mindset for the organization. Just to be perfectly candid, when Jennifer approached me for this webinar, I said we are nowhere to being perfect with leader standard work. We are still learning ourselves. However, we've learned a lot in the last 3.5 years. So that's my goal here, is to share some of our learnings with you. And my hope is that you are giving me 45 minutes of your time so I can leave you with a nugget or two that will help you kind of practice this wherever you are. So before I move into the presentation, Jennifer, if we could do a quick poll to get a pulse from the audience. I'm interested in knowing um, what in the audience, how many people we have who are individual contributors versus in leadership or management roles. So if we can get that poll up on the screen, please, Jennifer.
I just had a little technical difficulty. Just one second.
So while Jennifer is working on getting the poll up, I'll say that if you are a leader who is attending this webinar, I would encourage you to think about how this information could change your daily routines. If you are an individual contributor attending this webinar and aspire to be a leader, you might want to think about this as, skills of the future that you want to gain, and so on and so forth. So it seems like the poll is up. So if I could request everyone to vote and let us know how many of you are individual contributors versus in a management role. All right, Jennifer, whenever you're ready with the results. Okay, perfect. So almost a 50-50 split. Very good. So since we have a lot of people in management roles on the webinar, again, I would encourage you to think about how this compares to your current routines. For the individual contributors who are listening in, I would encourage you, if you are interested in being a manager in the future, these are some of the skills of the future you have to think about. How are you going to gain these type of skills? All right, so first, I like to start everything with the problem. So what is the problem? Why are we talking about leader standard work? You can see the statistics on the screen. I won't go through each of them, but what all of these statistics are revealing is that there is an epidemic in the workplace. It doesn't matter, what company you work for, small, large, big, all of them are part of a lot of these statistics. The epidemic is that employees want development and growth, and management just isn't equipped to provide that. These stats show that there is a serious lack of trust and joy in the workplace. So the question is, why is that? Why are these statistics so bad, and what can we do about it? That's what I'm hoping to address with the following few slides. So the answer to why, could it possibly be that all leaders are just, short-sighted, selfish people who are intentionally making this a bad workplace? I doubt it. I mean, everyone wants to blame the leaders. However, at least I don't know a single leader who wakes up in the mornings and they say, well, today I'm going to go to work and create an unhappy, distrustful work environment. I don't know many of those leaders. So the truth is, leaders are doing the best with the tools that they have. the tools that management schools and business schools and our work trainings have given them, they're doing their best with what they have. So when a frontline process doesn't deliver the results that we want, we say that don't blame the worker, blame the process and improve the process, change the process. Similarly, if our current management practices are leading to the statistics on the previous slide, I think it's short-sighted to blame the leader. Instead, we should look at the management processes and routines that the leaders are using and think about how do we change those to create a different set of statistics for our workplace. So let's talk about what it means to be a leader. This is a slide that my team has developed here at the Standard to kind of talk about leadership and the role of a leader. So as a leader, in most companies, you are asked to develop people and deliver results. You have to do this while you are running the business and improving the business. In most companies, that makes up the crux of what a leader is expected to do. Now, what gets in the way is meetings that fill up our calendars, the priorities that keep on changing, whether it's based on what customers want or external factors or internal factors. It seems like wherever you go, that priorities for leaders are always changing. There are business pressures. Most of us operate in a very competitive industry. So there's pressure to do better, cheaper, faster all the time. And there's firefighting. Things come up all the time, and mostly what leaders are trying to do is fight those fires on a daily basis while delivering on all these other expectations. I was talking to an executive recently, and this person said that the last 5 years, our industry has seen more change than the previous 15 years combined. I mean, think about that. Last 5 years, more change than the previous 15 years combined, and it is not slowing down anytime soon. So all of those things that I just talked about that get in the way of leaders are about to increase manyfold. That's not going away, the environment that leaders are operating in. And to make it worse, not only are these expectations not going away, expectations from leaders are changing on how they achieve those things. If you read any article out there in Harvard Business Review or any of these publications about the changing role of a leader, two things are very clear. First, leaders are expected to develop people. People expect development from their leaders. Second is, instead of giving answers to your team members, leaders are expected to be good coaches. They are expected to develop the thinking of their team members to get to the answers themselves. And you have to do all of this while keeping your team engaged. So let me ask, let's do another poll, Jennifer. I would like to know from the audience, how many of you feel that you have the skills necessary for managing people in this environment? And if you are an individual contributor, you can answer that question based on how many of you think your leader has the skills necessary to do what I just described. All right, let's give it a few more seconds, and then whenever you're ready with the results, Jennifer. All right. So the results of our unscientific poll are actually not that different from the results of a scientific poll done by Gallup. Gallup says that only 10% managers are well equipped to manage in this way, and our results are kind of showing the same, that 10% people feel they are well equipped, and the remaining 90 are in varying states of learning how to do this. So if that is the problem, um, what do we need to change? First is if 90% of managers feel that they have to learn these skills, they need time to learn these skills. Think about any new habit that you've tried to build, whether it's, playing golf or losing weight or exercising, anything. Any new habit or routine that you try to gain, you need three things to do that. First is you need to have the new routines. So you are going to do something different in place of something else that you used to do. So I'm gonna eat healthy in place of not eating healthy before, as an example. Second is you have to develop the discipline to practice those routines. For example, I want to make sure I go to the gym regularly if my goal is to lose weight and get fitter. And then third is practice. You have to just practice, practice, practice. And ideally, you want to practice with a coach. The more you do it, the better you will get. People sometimes ask me, why do you need a coach? Why can't I just do this on my own? And my answer is, try learning golf without lessons, and you will get frustrated pretty quickly. Not that you cannot improve without a coach, but having a coach just will accelerate your learning. So leader standard work, the simplest definition I have for leader standard work is leaders taking control of their time to do these three things. Establish new routines, practice those routines with a discipline, and practice, practice, practice. That's all leader standard work is, the ability to do those things and creating the time to do those things. So to what end? If we are creating the time, it is in pursuit of two things. Number one, making yourself better as a coach. And number two, making your team better on their problem solving skills. And why is that important? Because even if you are the best problem solver in the world, you humanly cannot solve all the problems for your team members, which means you have to focus on improving their problem solving ability, which means to do that, you must improve your ability to coach them. So the better you coach them, the more their problem solving skills improve. And as their problem solving skills improve, the better your coaching needs to be to get them to the next level. Some of you might have heard of or even attended a talk by David Marquette. He is the author of the book Turn the Ship Around. If you haven't, I would highly recommend his book or just looking up David Marquette on YouTube. I really like what he says in his book as well as his talk. He says that if leaders don't do these things, they can never go home and have dinner with their family. Think about that. If you don't do these things, you cannot have a good work-life balance and do what matters most, which is spending time with your family. So you want people on your team to make decisions as if you are standing right there with them. That's the kind of problem solving skill you want to build in your team. And that is the goal of leader standard work. A lot of times leaders ask me, why should I do this? And that's the reason is without spending that time, you can't build those skills in your team. So the next question I get from leaders is, how do I find the time? I'm already busy. We just talked about all those things that get in the way of building these routines. And they say, do you know what it feels like to be me? And I say, yeah, I know what it feels like to be you, because guess what? I am a leader also, and I've had to practice these things myself. So first, let's talk about how much time is needed. So this is what we use at the standard as a goal based on the level of leadership. So if you are a frontline manager, you are closest to the value producing employees, the frontline work. So at least half of your time or up to half of your time should be spent on leader standard work activities. As you go up in the organization, that time allocation changes. The reason is, as you go up the management chain, more and more of your work and your time should be focused on transforming the business versus running and improving the business. You're further and further away from the value producers, and hence you need less and less time set aside to do these things. So let's do another poll, Jennifer. I'm curious to see the audience. If I asked you, how many of you can create this much time in your calendar today? If I asked you to create this much time in your calendar for these activities, how easy would it be for you to do it? All right, whenever you're ready, Jennifer, let's see the results. Okay, so roughly half of us say it would be difficult, 38% say it would be moderately easy, and then only 13% of us are ready as of today. So let me tell you, you're not alone. If you voted difficult or moderate, you are not alone. That is the #1 challenge most leaders face, is how do I create this time on my calendar? They agree that these are the right things to do, but where to find the time when you're already working 50, 60 hours a week? So this sounds pretty hopeless, right? So what should we do? I need time to build these skills. Time is what I don't have. So it's like this vicious circle. So what should we do? Well, let's first talk about what we should not do. What we should not do, I'm sure many people have seen this quote before. Some people say it's from Albert Einstein and some people say it's not, but either way, that's the definition of insanity. So it's clear that whatever management routines we are practicing today are not giving us the outcomes we need. So what we shouldn't do is continue to do those same things and expect different results. A second definition of insanity that you can assign to me, this is something I came up with, is trying something new half-heartedly and expecting instant results. This is the second challenge that a lot of leaders face. They buy into leader standard work, they create the time, and then they do it for 4 weeks and they expect instant results. Think about that. You have been doing your previous routines for years and years. You can't expect different results in a week or 2 weeks or even a few weeks. It takes time. So expecting anything different would be another definition of insanity, in my opinion. So I would say second thing is you have to commit to trying this different routines. Don't do it for a week and give it up. So you cannot create time. So what can you do? What you can do is you can shift time, and you can shift it at whatever pace works for you. So you can shift it an hour at a time, 30 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time, 4 hours at a time. The pace can be dictated by you. Here are some examples of when I coach leaders how to create this time. These are the type of examples I would give them on how they can start shifting it. So one-on-ones. Most one-on-ones in a current system, or the traditional management system, most one-on-ones are focused on status updates, getting status updates on the work. um, you can decrease the frequency of those one-on-ones. Instead, have them less frequently and focus those one-on-ones on development plans and giving feedback to your team members versus just getting status updates. So then the next question is, how are you going to get the status updates? Well, go and see. Go look at, if you are managing leaders of leaders, go have a one-on-one or a conversation right next to their huddle board. Go attend their huddle instead and get your status updates through their huddles instead of the one-on-ones. Weekly staff meeting. So I personally don't have a weekly staff meeting for my own team. Those leaders who do, my suggestion is to eliminate that weekly staff meeting or make it shorter. Instead of the weekly staff meeting, think about what information are you getting from that weekly staff meeting that is not already on your huddle board, and how do you get that same information on the huddle board so that all of you have visibility to the same information and you don't need a separate weekly conversation to talk about how things are going. If you want to have a weekly meeting, then focus that weekly meeting on problem solving and new ideas for improvement. So on my team, we do have a weekly problem solving meeting where we talk about all the problems that are emerging and how do we solve for those issues. Same thing with scorecard reviews and project updates. You can get all that information if you have good huddles, good visual management in place, and the project updates, instead of just getting update on tasks of the project, make them shorter and ask your team to use an A3 or whatever structured problem solving method your company uses. Use that to communicate how the project is going and coach your team on the problem that the project is trying to solve for. Firefighting, which is a big part of what leaders do. So firefighting, unfortunately, it's very hard to totally eliminate it, but you at least can decrease the frequency of how often firefighting happens. So few things you can do for firefighting is, when an issue happens, get it on a Pareto chart. Make sure you're capturing the issues as they are happening so that over a period of time, you can see trends and you can see systemic issues that happen again and again. And those systemic issues would be good candidates for an A3, which you can coach someone on your team on as they solve that problem on a systemic basis. So all of these things are examples of, on the left-hand column are things we currently might be doing. The right-hand column is how we can shift that time to do more meaningful activities that help us develop our team and build problem-solving skills in them. So what are some tactics? Some of the lessons learned that we've had here at the Standard. First is what I shared, shift the time. So we sometimes ask the leaders to go through this exercise where I would ask a leader to look at their calendar for the last 4 weeks and list out all those meetings on an Excel sheet and tag them as value added or non-value added. So identify all the non-value added meetings on your calendar and then think about which of those can you replace with value added leader standard work activities. Second thing is get a coach, whether it's a peer of yours or another leader or your leader, or if you have a lean team in your company, get a coach from the lean team. Even peer coaching can help you improve a lot. Again, I go back to the golf example. So many times I'm playing golf and the person I'm playing with can just look at my swing and give me a couple of pointers that help me improve. They may not be the expert in how to coach someone on golf, but they can observe and give you feedback, and that will help you improve also. And then the third tactic is practice with discipline. So make sure when you are going to coach someone, or when you are going to a huddle, or when you are going to have a conversation with someone about their huddle board, make sure you have a clear focus before you go, so that you can make observations relative to that focus. And then you just perform the activities and make sure you have a reflection time right after, to close the loop on what did you learn and what are you going to do next time. Next tip I would share is try to make it visible on the board. So at the standard, we have a leader standard work section on each huddle board, where the leader puts in their plan versus actual. The picture here is actually my own leader standard work on every week. What are the activities I'm doing to develop my team, to improve the my team and run the business for my team. It's visible on the board, and the leader every day marks red or green on how they are performing relative to their plan. Another side benefit of having this visible is the leadership in that area. You can just walk a floor and you will know how leaders in that area are showing up, looking at their leader standard work on the huddle boards. As for you individually, it will build accountability, because what's visible drives accountability for you as a leader. And also it shows respect for your people. It's amazing how many times, you ask a leader, what do you do? And a lot of times leaders pause and they say, I attend a lot of meetings, I manage work. There's very vague answers that you get. Being respectful to your people, this is showing your team what exactly you are doing to help them and to help the business. So in summary, I will say leader standard work is not a lean tool. It's definitely born from the lean thinking, but I believe very strongly that it is the management work of the future. So whether your company is deploying lean or not deploying lean, you need to think about leader standard work and how are you going to practice these skills of the future. Second, you cannot build these skills if you don't set time aside, if you don't have discipline, and if you don't get coaching from someone, because you don't need those three things to build any skill. Third, don't add time, because it's just not possible to add any more time to our full calendars. Shift time. Identify the meetings or the activities that you can shift, and shift it slowly and PDCA from there. And then finally, to the extent possible, make it visible. If you don't have a huddle board in your company, just put it outside your office or your cube. Just make it visible anywhere. It's going to drive accountability, and it will help you get better. So with that, I am going to say thank you for joining today, and I'll open it up for any questions.
So there's the Q&A feature down at the bottom. So if you have any questions for Kush and the tactics that he's used, or anything about what's going on at standard, please feel free to type something in there, and then we'll be able to answer that. We'll give you a little bit to, let's wait for a couple seconds to see if we start seeing some pop in before we go on to the final slides. Oop, okay, we got a couple coming in. So Kush, I may want to do leader standard work, but what if my executives don't?
Good. So I would say start with you. Start with yourself, because you control your own time, and hopefully by doing it yourself, you can then share with your executives, or it becomes visible to them how it's changing the engagement on your team, and they will be motivated also to join in.
Okay, how do you link the leader standard work from the individual contributor to the CEO?
Yep, so we haven't, at least at the standard, we haven't gone all the way up to the CEO level yet. However, we have gone up to one level below the CEO. And how we link it up is everyone, including those leaders, have a leader standard work section on their huddle board, and they have to do the same thing. What is their plan, and what was their actual for the week, and what did they learn?
Okay, here's another one. I'm a CI coach. What strategies do you recommend to get leaders engaged and interested in leader standard work?
Great question. I would say two or three things, other than some suggestions that were already in the presentation. I will say two or three things. One is acknowledge their reality, that they have a lot going on. Then second is help them see the why, like how will this help them and their teams. And then third is help them start small. So, one leader I was coaching, when we started talking about leader standard work, this person said, well, where am I going to find time? So we said, let's start with 15 minutes. What will you have to change on your calendar to create 15 minutes to attend your team huddle every day? So that can help them get started.
Thank you. Here's another one. We've got three more. I have multiple facilities to manage where a huddle board isn't practical. How do you recommend doing this remotely?
Remotely, so we, at least at the standard, we are experimenting with a lot of virtual huddle boards. So there's a bunch of tools out there for creating a huddle board electronically. So you can do that. If that is not an option for you, I would say just create your leader standard work template in Excel and just share that.
How does this connect or relate to a Hoshin Conry chart?
I am not sure, to be honest, because we haven't dived into Hoshin Conry yet here at the standard. Conceptually, I think without this Hoshin or daily management or anything, it's very hard to execute on those things. So this just creates time to be able to do all the priority activities that are on your Hoshin X matrix.
Okay, should your coach be your direct manager?
Not necessarily. Like I said, it doesn't have to be your direct manager. It can be someone from your CI team. It can be, if it is your direct manager, unless they are highly skilled in coaching, I would suggest getting someone from your CI team involved as an observer. And it can also be a peer of yours. If you engage a peer, just be transparent with them on, hey, these are the 2 or 3 things I'm trying to get better at, so that they can observe for those things.
Okay, we have 2 more. It looks like we have some time for both of them. You talked about setting a new routine, having discipline, and then practicing. Can you give us an example of where you did this, a real life example?
I will say relatively successful example, not completely successful. So, an year ago, I started thinking about a better workout routine. So I joined a CrossFit gym, and part of that was identifying that is what I want to do. So that was the routine. The discipline piece is something I've done PDCA on over the last year or so. So when I started, I used to go like once a week, twice a week, and I wasn't necessarily seeing the benefits that I wanted to see. So I have, over the last 12 months, built the discipline of at least going to my CrossFit gym 4 times a week. And when I go there, there is a coach for each class. And that coach helps me get better.
Okay, here's another question. Should leader standard work only be used at the management level at the huddle board, or should there be one for lead roles as well?
For lead roles, did you say lead roles?
Leads, yeah, versus the manager, like a line lead.
I mean, that's hard to say without understanding the structure. I would say anyone who is tasked with developing people and getting results should think about leader standard work.
Yeah,
So
it really creates that discipline to get out and do the things that they need to do before they get sucked into the whirlwind that's going on around them.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, Kush, thanks. Let's progress to the next slide.
All right.
Okay, everyone, I really want to thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Thank you, Kush, for sharing your expertise with us, and I'm excited about what we learned.